We have a few updates on the agenda to start the new year. Happy New Year to everybody. And we'll do item one, MTA, New York City Transit, and NYC DOT, update on Lormer Station construction and Lormer Street traffic routing. That'll be Andy Inglesby from MTA will lead off, and then he'll recognize different members of the support team to present.
Great, thanks a lot, Chair Brizaitis. Always a pleasure to be at CB1. Good evening, everyone. Hope everybody is well and safe, most importantly. For those of you that do not know me, my name is Andy Inglesby. I'm Assistant Director for Government Community Relations, MTA, New York City Transit. I am joined by my colleagues Joe O'Donnell from MTA Construction and Development, and Brennan Ortiz from Transit Operations Planning. I believe somebody from our contractor, Judlow, is on the call as well. Joe, if you could go ahead and share your screen if possible. Eric, does he need share screen capability or?
It's self-serve at the bottom of the screen, Andy.
Thanks, Jerry.
Everybody see that?
Not yet. Yes. Okay.
Oh, good.
So we welcome the opportunity to, and we thank you for putting us on the agenda tonight to come and talk to you guys about updates. Back in April of last year, we came and gave you guys introduction to our 3 ADA projects within Community Board 1. Accessibility ADA upgrades at the Lormer Street L station, the Metropolitan Avenue G station, and the Grand Street L station. They started at various points last year. They're continuing into 2022, and we will have them all finished by at some point in 2023. So we wanted to come early this year, give you guys an update, especially with some changes along Lormer Street traffic patterns that we're doing. And we'll get to them in a little bit. But with that little introduction, I'm going to turn it over to my colleague, Joe O'Donnell, who can walk you through the bulk of the deck, and then I'll come back to wrap it up.
Thanks, Andy, and thanks, everybody. Thanks, Eric, and CB1 for having us here tonight. I think you're doing yourself a disservice, Andy, because I think Eric's had us a couple of times. I think we did an intermediate update on the change in design for one of the elevators too, no?
Very true. Yep.
And
so, various meetings as well. Yep.
Just to make sure that we're all speaking the same language, in the event that somebody is new to this meeting or has not had this update before, I'm going to go through a couple of slides that sort of level set what the project's about, where we are, and then I'll get into the progress at each of the stations that are part of CB1's district, and then some of the changes that'll be coming up in the next 6 months in those areas, and specifically to the Lormer Street area where we're going to really start getting work underway there. So bear with me if you've seen this presentation before for the first couple of slides. Just want to make sure that everybody's on the same page, and as I say, we'll dive into the crux of the new material shortly after that. So for everybody's benefit, this project is part of a larger ADA accessibility project. Stations throughout New York City. We're looking to not only address accessibility issues, ADA issues, but also flood protection and resiliency upgrades at Metropolitan and Lormer here in this particular district. There's structural rehabilitation that's going on at many of the stations, system upgrades. And the design of this contract, as Andy mentioned, was back in December of 2020. And then we got the contractor on board, ramped up, and mobilized very early in 2021. We did come to the board middle of last year to talk about some changes relative to the Lormer Street station and the elevator, where we had once proposed putting a combined stair and elevator configuration on the northeast corner. We've now moved the elevator or the stair to the other side of the street, and one of the mezzanine to platform elevators around the corner on the other side of JR's to lessen up some of the configuration. So now, even in spite of that, right now our completion is still anticipated for this project, July of 2023. And I'm sure you've seen some of the work in the various station areas in this particular district that's been going on. We started off with a lot of work inside the station areas, prepping to get things going as we finalized designs, change some of those plans at the street level, and then work with our city partners, the various agencies, whether it's DOT, Con Ed, National Grid, Verizon, et cetera, to do the work that they need to do in order to get us to get ready to really. So from a project progress standpoint, at all stations, the design work has been ongoing over the last year. We've done test pits, and that was sort of the first thing, the first entree to this project. Folks saw our survey teams out there. There was test pits and some borings that were done to confirm, what we were, our drawings and the blueprints that we received to indicate what the subsurface conditions look like. But the design team went out there with the contractor and confirmed those. Then there was a setup of work zones on the street, some barricades within the stations in order to advance the demolition inside the stations. At the Grant Street station, there's utility work that's been underway, water main and Con Edison and ECS, which is your Verizon. Excavation for the southbound elevator on Bushwick Avenue has been underway, and conduit installation for the advancement of utilities, power, electrical, communications, etc. At Metropolitan Avenue Station, there's been demolition station and National Grid relocations going on at the street level. The Geekin for you'll hear a little bit more about that upcoming has been positioned at Metropolitan Avenue to do some of the work, the sheet piling, which I'll get into in a little bit too. For those not familiar, has been positioned at Lormer Street. And then eventually it's going to work its way on over to, Metropolitan, sorry, on over to Lormer. At Lormer Street Station, the work thus far has been concentrated on relocation of the fare equipment, National Grid's gas relocation, redesign work that I mentioned after sitting down virtually and in the street. Well, I don't think we sat down in the street, but we certainly met a few times in the street with the community and the community board to go over some of their concerns. So there was a redesign, as I mentioned, with regard to the elevator and stair configuration there. The completion date for the project, as I mentioned, continues to be 2023. Some of the stuff coming up over the next 6 months, again, touching on some of the other stations. Bushwick Avenue excavation for the elevator and jet grouting is ongoing there. For those of you not familiar with jet grouting, when we are working in conditions where it isn't hard rock, which is obviously tougher to get through, but good from a support standpoint, when we're working in a mixed environment with sand, soil, rock, or largely non-rock, then we need to implement things like jet grouting to stabilize the soil. And what that is essentially what jet grouting is a stabilizing liquid gets injected into the soil to firm it up, essentially solidifying it and making it easier to work with, so that it doesn't, if you ever tried to build on a beach, if you've dug a pit or tried to build a sandcastle on the beach, the sand, as you dig, it continues to collapse on itself. So the jet grouting, and again, another methodology that we'll talk a little bit about is sheet piles, is used to stabilize the area around our excavation so that we can install the elevators. And sheet piles essentially are interlocking metal plates with edges so that they create a contiguous wall around the ground, that's typically either permanent or temporary, again, for retention of the soil in those areas so that we can progress our work. Inside the station, there's been a lot of platform edge replacement. Oops, sorry, skip the slide there. Platform edge replacement, electrical work, and then the building out of the rooms behind the barricades. As you can see on this particular slide, the photo is an excavation of the station roof for the southbound elevator, and the excavation is on Bushwick Avenue. Metropolitan Avenue over the next 6 months. At Union Avenue, National Grid's gas relocation is ongoing. We're doing the excavation for the elevators, setting up the work zones. Similarly, we'll be doing some jet grouting here to support the excavation. And inside the station, demolition for the installation of new stairs will take place. The ADA boarding areas will be upgraded. Electrical work will be done. And then the steel installation will be installed over the next 6 months. At Lormer Street station for the next 6 months, the excavation will start for the elevator. The work is set up. There is a smaller work zone there that's there presently. Jet grouting will take place. It's going to be a larger excavation here for the elevator. So we will need to do that jet grouting. Metropolitan Avenue, there will be excavation for the elevators. Inside the station, there will be demolition for the installation of new stairs, the upgrades to the ADA boarding areas, and then similarly to the other stations, electrical work and structural steel installation. One of the key things that we wanted to talk to you all about tonight was some of the changes in the operations or the configuration of Lormer Street while we are going to be advancing this work. So Lormer Street will need to be put into a one-way operation. You know, we've heard from the community multiple times about the narrow nature of Lormer Street, and because of the equipment that's going to be needed to do the work, and obviously the existing narrow configuration of the street, Lormer will be reduced to a one-way operation, northbound only, from Ainsley to Skillman from this month till approximately spring of 2023. Oops, what do we got here? Until spring of 2023, as we work to wrap up operations. Obviously, the closer we get to the completion of work and to the best of our ability, we would look to scale back our work zones and our footprint as much as possible. The safe bet is we will be in this one-way configuration until spring of 2023. In order to implement the one-way closure and to get the machinery in to the area between on Lormer, between Metropolitan and Concellier, we are going to need to close that particular block for up to 4 weeks in March, February and March, in order to do the work that we need to do. It'll still be open to foot traffic, and obviously in the event of an emergency for deliveries and things of that nature, we will maintain access. But as far as through traffic goes, that block will be closed for up to 4 weeks again, to the best of our ability. And, you know, provided that all the work goes smoothly, we will look to get out of there quicker than that. But we are planning for a 4-week operation at this point. This is necessary, as I mentioned, due to the narrow nature of the street, the large excavation, and the material and the equipment. You know, this Geekin that I mentioned earlier is a piece of equipment that is going to take these sheet piles that are going to be used to stabilize the excavation area, and it's going to actually pick these 35 to 40 foot sheets of steel up and spin them into the area that they need to be installed. And so we won't be able to have traffic traveling through that area when these operations are happening. In the event that there's foot traffic there, we will have flaggers. I'll get into that in a little bit. That will be there to make sure that pedestrians can safely navigate the area. And if we need to stop any work for a period of time to, you know, let passers through, then we can do that to let passers-by through.
Before you go to the next slide, this is Andy Inglesby. I just wanted to further say that regarding this Geekin, it's currently at the Grand Street station. So once we finish work at the Grand Street station with the Geekin, we're going to be bringing it to Lormer Street. So the actual day, I know we have February, March on the slide here. The actual day of the possible closure, which would be necessary, is still look, we're trying to work the details out as far as the actual date. I've told the community and the local residents and merchants that right now we're looking at either sometime middle of next week or the week of February 7th as a possible date for the start of that, depending on when the machinery, the crane arrives, and when we actually need all the space on Lormer Street for the work. So that's why we put February, March on it. An exact date will be coming more when we have more information about when the crane's arriving. So just wanted to keep everybody abreast of that.
Thanks, Andy. This next slide is a blow up to give more detail about the map that we just showed on the previous slide. So again, we're talking about right now for this 4-week closure about the area on Lormer Street between Metropolitan and Concellier. And then this obviously shows the traffic patterns, how one would navigate around, as well as some of the bus activities. We'll talk a little bit further about the bus activities in a minute. Lormer Street one way, obviously safety is paramount here. The green elements that you see here are the pedestrian walkways, which will remain open and remain at least 5-foot minimum clearance during operations. So will be a navigable path on both sides of the street and at the corners during these operations. Obviously, all of the work here has been approved by OSHA, DOT, and MTA for the execution of this work. The support work, the supportive excavation, the crane design, and all of the rigging has been overviewed and reviewed rather, and stamped, approved by a professional designer and engineer of record. And then, as I mentioned, access for pedestrians and businesses for deliveries and any emergency personnel, sanitation, FDNY, things of that nature will be maintained at all times. Again, a little bit more about the sanitation. We have spoken, communicated directly with DSNY about the nature of these operations. They're aware of the work zone setup. Our staff, and when I say our staff, the contractors who are out there working on the street, will ensure that any refuse is transported from what would have been the typical area to the north and south corners of the work zone area. DSNY has been apprised of the situation that there may be, seemingly larger than normal pickups, but it's because the trash will be consolidated at the north and southbound extremities or extremes of the work zone areas for ease of picking it up. Rodent and vector control is required as a part of this project. The contractor is governed by the Department of Health when it comes to vector control, in the sense that we are only allowed to bait within our own work zones. So if there's a tree pit nearby, or the vectors, which is what the Department of Health labels them, or rats in the colloquial, they like soft earth. So if there's a tree pit nearby, there may be a burrow there, or if there's other soft earth areas, we would have to work with Department of Health, and we're happy to do that to get them out there if there seems to be a spike or an increase in activity. But to the extent that we can try to mitigate that situation, it's largely by making sure that we maintain tidy work zones, that we're not, our materials and supplies within the work zones are kept in a neat and tidy manner so that it's not creating a harborage. And then we can obviously bait within our own work zones. But in the event that there seems to be an uptick in activity, obviously, please reach out to Andy and I, and we'll work with the contractor and with the Department of Health to inspect and see what other mitigations may be able to be employed. Emergency vehicles be allowed, obviously, entry even during the full shutdown operation. The FDNY and NYPD, EMS have all been notified of the one-way operation, so that in the event of an emergency call there, they know what they're getting into and how to approach the situation accordingly. During the full closure, as I mentioned, we will grant access. There will be flaggers there to grant access to emergency services with access to any of the hydrants or residential or commercial establishments during this operation. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Andy to talk a little bit about the bus operations and how things will change with regard to the bus stops.
Thanks, Joe. So as Joe said, that starting tomorrow, I believe the contractor will be set working with DOT starting tomorrow to make Lormer Street one way between Ainsley and Skillman. So as part of that, we need to take the B48 route off of Lormer Street. Flyers were distributed to all the locals, and yours truly delivered them on January 18th to the residents and merchants in that 4-block area. I also sent a copy of the flyer to the community board and the local elected officials. We're taking all the bus stops that were on Lormer Street. We're going to be putting them onto Union Avenue. Our contractor has put up signs notifying everybody that working with DOT, and we appreciate all of DOT's help on this, working with DOT to make sure that the bus stops on Lormer Street are shown to now be on Union Avenue. And that's going to be, as Joe said, until July of 2023. So that one-way process actually is scheduled to start tomorrow and continue until spring of next year. We appreciate everybody's help, and we will be as good neighbors as possible with all the traffic changes. And if we can by any chance get that one-way direction done earlier, we most certainly would. And then the last slide, as you guys know, just shows the information. We have the contact information on our for our website and for the hotline number, and my email address is included as well. So with that, we appreciate everyone's time. I'll turn it back to Chair Brusitis.
Okay, thanks, Joe. Thanks, Andy.
Eric, do you want me to pull this down? Is it easier if I pull this down, or do we need it up in case we need to refer to a map or a schematic?
Leave it up for the moment.
Okay.
I think. Okay, so just a couple things. Did we know that we were going to have this 4-week full closure on Lormer at previous presentations? I don't seem to remember it, but
no, we didn't.
It's been a minute.
Yeah, this is one of the big newsy type items that we wanted to present tonight, because this was the first time it was determined with the schedule that we didn't know exactly when it was going to happen. We knew it was going to be sometime, but we nailed down the date. So we wanted to come and mention that. This is one of the big things we wanted to mention tonight to the board.
Eric,
Okay.
One of the large drivers, and no pun intended on the large element of it, was during the design and the the advancement of the design of how this excavation was actually going to take place. It was identified that there's a large main that is right down the center of Lormer Street. So we don't want to position that equipment directly over the main, and Con Edison frankly doesn't want us to do that either in the event that there's some sort of an issue. So in order to do that, that's why we're going to have to shut things down in order to get that big piece of equipment in there, get the sheet piles in for the supportive excavation, and then get it out of there. So unfortunately, trying to make sure that we're doing our due diligence and doing this project as safely as possible. And unfortunately, it's impactful from a traffic standpoint, but to make sure there's no serious impacts, it's prudent to shut down. It was determined that it was prudent to shut things down. Again, we're allocating a month for this work. We're hopeful that it's not going to take a full month, but we want the community prepared for the worst, and then hopefully we can come back to you with news that we didn't need as much time.
Yeah, and Eric, as Joe said, pretty much the logistics drive this, because we have the same piece of equipment on Grand Street right now, and we're not closing down that block face. So as Joe said, the logistics with the main there as well. So the block, that's why we need to close the block on Lormer between Elliott.
Okay. And so, and that's a full closure all times, right? So it's not as if when the work is done, we can open it back up in the evenings till the morning because of the equipment that's going to be there, or
right?
because
Just
of the
because,
safe.
right? We would have to move the equipment in and out, and logistically that would just be problematic.
Sure. Okay. Okay. And then I was taking some notes when you were talking about the sanitation issue. Uh, the trucks and the sanitation workers, sorry if I'm making you go over this again, won't be able to get in. So they know that whatever they can't grab, Judlow is gonna move to the corners for them to pick up. Can you just go over that
Yeah.
one more time for me?
Yeah.
Sorry.
So basically our contractor, Judlow, is what they're doing is if the residents leave their garbage outside on pickup days, so Sundays, Tuesday night, Thursday night, pickup days on the block are Monday, Wednesday, Friday. So if they can leave their garbage outside when the crews are still there, we'll bring them to the corners, the corner of either Concellier or the corner of Metropolitan, for sanitation to pick up in the areas where our barricades are.
Right. And for the
Yes.
businesses, that have their own private carters, usually they have stickers for that and whatever. Is that going to be segregated for them?
We've spoken to a couple of businesses that do have private carters, and they said they were working it out with the carters. So
Okay. All
I
right.
haven't heard of any issues with carters.
Okay.
Besides the initial outreach.
Got it. Okay. Okay. That's it for me. Committee.
Andy?
Is that Simon?
Yeah, how are you? I'm joined.
Okay, Simon.
Okay,
Go ahead.
when this issue is finished, I wanted to ask Andy a question. I didn't want to butt in
Okay.
a different issue.
Okay. Any other committee? I can't see hands. I'll scroll through.
Eric, it's Mary. I have a question.
Go ahead, Mary.
Andy, I know that the community was very concerned about the steps on Lormer.
Look good on me. Amazing quality too. I just got a package from my favorite denim brands, Mott and
Somebody has their mic open. If you can, anybody but MTA and Mary can mute.
Okay. I know that the community was very concerned about the steps on Lormer Street. Has there been any change in design or anything in regard to those steps to satisfy the community?
Right. So Mary, that's why we came back in mid-year. We redesigned those steps, and those steps
Okay.
that were on the block between Concellier and Metropolitan are now on the block between Metropolitan and DeVoe. It's going to be a stair on the southwest corner.
Okay. Okay, that's good to hear. Thank you so much.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, we listened to the community's concerns, and we were able to redesign.
That's
Mary,
terrific.
if you know there's an emergency hatch staircase that's right outside the Zona Rosa establishment on the Lorimer side. We're going to repurpose that existing emergency hatch into a street stair that's publicly accessible. So that street stair that was on the opposite corner is now being relocated to that emergency hatch across the street.
Okay, thanks. Mary, anything else? No. Okay. I see you shaking your head. Okay.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Any committee? Anybody else? Questions, comments? Karen, go ahead.
Good evening, everyone. I just have a question regarding the fencing, and where will the fencing begin and end? If you recall, on Manhattan Avenue, since the fencing was, green, wooden fence, there was some safety issues and concerns within the community about, people being groped and also getting robbed. So I just want some more information on what the staging is going to look like.
In terms of Catherine, I see Catherine from the contractor team on, in term, the slide that I have up right now shows the essentially what the work zones are going to look like. In terms of the blue areas will be the work where work is going on or where things are being staged. And the green that you see on the screen, I'm presuming my screen's still up. Can everybody still see that?
Yes.
So, and then the green areas will be the passenger walkways, or pedestrian walkways rather. In the event that there, if you see where my cursor is right now in the what would have been the street, this area here will be blocked off by barriers, and pedestrians can traverse that area, or pedestrians can traverse up the sidewalk. If there's an issue, Catherine, I don't know that we're going to have any solid wood barrier fences up right now. They're all fence and mesh, but we will take
It'll
take
be
a look at them. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, it'll be chain link fence. A lot of people want to not see the construction work, so they like to have the green privacy fence on top of it. But we can take it down if people are concerned about and want to see through it. So
The green privacy fence serves a couple of things. Not only is it privacy, so folks don't have to see all of the work that's going on in there on a day in and day out basis, but it's also dust control. It helps keep, things from flying about. We are working with some of the businesses in the area where the work zones are right in front of the businesses, and on those fences will be signage with the businesses information to let folks know that they're still operational. But alternatively, where there is a passenger or a pedestrian sort of passageway where they may be going out to an intersection or a crosswalk, there wouldn't be any barrier there in terms of the mesh screen, because we need to maintain lines of sight at these corners. But additionally, we'll take a walk, and Andy walks it all the time, and I'll certainly walk with him and the contractor, and we'll take a look. I know in other instances, and I think Andy actually got a call on it today about the consideration of adding some lighting in particular areas. So if there's a concern about safety or security or visibility, we'll certainly work with the community to address those concerns.
Karen, are you talking about any one of the three stations in particular, or just in general?
No, actually, just right now in general. So I just wanted to get a sense of what it was going to look like, and that was the second thing I was going to mention was lighting. So
Sure.
I'm glad that you guys are looking into that.
Yeah,
That's
we're going to take a
perfect.
look at the lighting, because we've heard that obviously at night, the barricaded areas get a little dark. So we're going to take a look at that.
Okay, excellent. Thank you.
Always good to see you.
Same. Well, I'm not on.
Or
Here.
to hear you.
Okay. Thanks.
Anything else, Karen?
For now, that's
Okay.
it.
Okay. All right. I see public with their hands up. I don't see any other committee with their hands up. Okay, going once, going twice. Okay. Just want to acknowledge our new councilman, Lincoln Wrestler, is on the call, and welcome, Lincoln. And I'll also note for the record that we do have quorum now. So, okay, so we will go to Lisa Suma.
Hi.
Hi, Lisa.
Hi, Eric. Thank you. I wanted to piggyback on what Karen was saying, though, some of the concerns that, the residents, I'm a resident of Lormer Street. The work is going on literally outside my door. And some of the issues were safety. Melissa Morales, who is the owner of PNC, mentioned that when she leaves the restaurant at night, she's been leaving her exterior light on because the passageway is so narrow and so dark. So that's a concern. And we've already seen our cellar doors since the gates went up, both ours and Melissa's have been tagged with graffiti. There's no visibility. So, there's a lot of cover there. Also, none of our houses were yet inspected for vibration monitors, no one on our block. And we wanted to bring that up because we were asked for that consent. And there's still some, I know that, I've spoken to Andy about it, and I know Joe mentioned it, but another thing that one of the residents brought up was that the work site is often, there's a lot of, sort of things discarded in there. And we understand that sometimes, unfortunately, people will throw things in there, but we're very concerned with possible rodents and other issues. So we, like it to be attended to a little more carefully.
Sure. As far as the lighting is concerned, Lisa, I did have a conversation with Melissa,
Okay.
who you mentioned, and we're definitely going to take a look at the lighting. We're going to ask the contractor to take a look and certainly see what they can do as far as putting up some lighting, especially on the sidewalk side of the barricades.
Yeah.
We'll also take a look at the graffiti tags. We'll see what we can do about that. I had mentioned that we'll, in my conversation with Melissa earlier today, that we'll take a look at that.
Okay.
And then, yes, for rodents, absolutely. I know I've shared pictures with you of what we
Yes.
have in place. Currently, we're going to be, constantly inspecting the rodent protection. Or the contractor is required to constantly keep up with that. We'll make sure that we enforce that. And
And oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, that's fine. And then I was just going to turn it over to Joe as far as the issue. What was the second issue?
I was saying that it's, I mean, we can see it. And so, there's a lot of like wrappers and things that,
Yeah,
and
that's
it's all strewn around there.
Sure.
So, we can't obviously get in and clean it up.
Yeah,
but-
no, that's something that we're strict about, and I apologize, on behalf of the contractor for that. We'll make sure that that they keep it nice and clean and tidy. And you're right. If stuff like that will draw
Exactly.
unwanted pests, so we'll make sure that they keep on top of the cleanliness within the barricades for sure.
And
Yeah,
as
Lisa, oh, sorry, go ahead.
Oh, and there was one other thing. As far as sanitation, I know we discussed that. We put our garbage on the corner ourselves because there's really no room if we leave it out to walk. And often sanitation, like especially Wednesdays, I put tonight's garbage out. Tuesday night's garbage is still there. So now the corner is just like strewn with garbage. So I don't know if there's communication with sanitation, but maybe if this could be attended to a little more.
Sure.
Sure, yeah, I was gonna say, first, well, second is the sanitation issue. I'll reach out to my counterpart there and have a conversation with them about redoubling their efforts. And because they're aware that, this is not excessive garbage. This is just the typical garbage, but more in, condensed and consolidated in locations. But back to the question of the worksite cleanliness and the rodents and the trash and so on and so forth. A best practice that we had that we've seen in other projects that were much more long-standing than this particular project was we would do a site walk, and so if you see a persistent problem here, hopefully we can address it with the contractor, and Catherine, is I'm sure taking diligent notes here. But if it continues to be a problem, obviously we can't do anything about the average, the passerby who throws a candy wrapper or a coffee cup in there, other than clean it up at the next possible.
That's what, right. Yeah, that's what we're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as our people making sure that they're taking their trash out of there and keeping the work zones in a neat and tidy manner, we certainly can enforce that. So.
Thank you.
Anything else, Lisa?
No, thank you.
Okay. Oh, hello?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, we hear Eric.
I lost my people. I can't see anybody now. Joe, can you take down the presentation just for a second?
Sure.
Oh, there we go. Okay, great. We could always throw it back up if necessary. Okay, I saw Ms. Tellerico. Yes, Ms. Tellerico, you have your hand up. You're on the block. You want to go? Oh, I'm sorry. Was there an answer to the vibration monitors? I missed it.
Yeah, I can take that. We'll be in contact if everyone has like returned their consent to have us inspect your building. We'll be in contact to set those up before we begin excavation. So you should be hearing from us.
Going to point out that that conversation is ongoing. The inspections and the monitors inspections haven't happened and the monitors haven't been installed because the conversations are ongoing. So it's not for lack of communication at this point. It's just a matter of finalizing the details.
Okay,
And just for the record, that was Catherine McSpirit from our contractor, Judd Lowe.
Yes.
Can you spell that? Can you spell that for me?
MC Spirit with 2 T's.
Got it.
And may I ask, is that, I guess what we were all wondering was if that was the norm, or our houses, we've already experienced like incredible, vibration, earthquake level vibrations. And we thought it was strange that none of our houses had been inspected yet. So it's, work's been going on 5 weeks or for a month.
So the monitoring is for excavations, deeper excavations, and large equipment. So anything that's shallow, it doesn't require it.
Thanks.
Okay. Ms. Tallarico, you are up.
Good afternoon. I don't know how to say it, but one thing is this. I live in 589 Lormer Street. And one day in the morning, I found out that I have a wall in front of my house. Yeah, I'm being a good neighbor, and they know that. But the whole point, we have to be real clear with the buildings by us that the garbage have to go in the corner. Because right now, sometime like on Tuesday, it was my house was covered. Like half of the block, the sidewalk, it was with garbage from the next 2 building. And I have my garbage, fine. I don't want it to pick up my garbage. I don't want to walk to the corner to bring my garbage. But I really appreciate that the others neighbor or the building that I don't know if they informed the people that the garbage doesn't go in by 589 Lormer Street. It should go to the corner of Lormer and the corner or in Metro. Because I really, it was crazy. And then there's more. You know how the garbage company is. They come one day they don't come. And that's what happened. Yesterday, I have to pick up the garbage, all the bottles for a friend of my house. And I'm going to be honest with you, I brought exactly to the building. And I bring it to them and I said, this is your bottles. You hold it into the next week. But we have to inform these people, or everyone had to be in communication here. We're gonna with this for a few years. I really need to be, and we need information. We need to know exactly when and how.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
And the whole point is like the side street. Like I'm gonna be honest with you. When I come at 9, at 4 or 5 o'clock, I'm nervous walking to my house right now. It's dark. Lisa was right. Lisa's like, it's very dark. I mean, we have to do something. We are a neighborhood. We're not like, I don't understand why whatever they did in front of our home wasn't not in Metro. That belongs in Metropolitan, not in front of our house. But it's done, and we have to deal with the situation, and we're going to be good neighbor. But we need more light. We need to be aware of, the board has to look around. You should walk around here and see at night. It's scary walking at night.
Yeah,
and it's so sad. It is sad that we're doing this right now.
So as I said to Lisa, Ms. Tallarico, we're going to definitely get more lighting up as quickly as possible. We understand the safety considerations, and yeah, I know that I had a conversation with you yesterday or Tuesday, I forget the day, regarding the garbage, and which we're trying to get in touch with people at 583 who are putting the garbage in front of 589. So we're on top of that as well. We're working on getting that situation fixed. So we appreciate your patience. I know I've spoken with you offline a couple of times, and we're looking to get these situations done as quickly as possible.
Okay, and then one more question that I have is about parking. You're gonna close the block. The we okay to park in the side street? Because right now is sometimes I see the orange all over. I mean, where are we supposed to park now? Like, can we, if it's okay, to, if you, I understand you're gonna close the block, but we need to know exactly, are we gonna be okay to park, look for parking, or just where are we gonna park? Like,
Sure.
I come home at 4, yeah, I feel like see all those orange container. I don't even know if I should move them into, the morning when I leave, or I should just look for parking.
The Lormer Street block between Concellier and Metropolitan will be closed to vehicular traffic once the Geekin crane is on the block. And as I said, that could be as early as next week. More likely it's going to be the week of February 7th, but whenever we finish the work at Grand Street, that's when we're going to move the Geekin machine to Lormer Street. But starting tomorrow, we will be making Lormer Street one-way northbound. So the one-way northbound traffic configuration will be affecting parking on Lormer Street. So yes, I would say that starting tonight, if the cones are there, if the contractor has set up the cones, then that means we'll be asking residents to not park there.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else from the block? I don't see hands up. Okay, so we're running a little long on this item, which is okay, but
I'm shocked.
I only see Kevin Lachera's hand up. I don't see any others. I see Lori just joined the call. She might have been on before and came out, but so what we'll do is we will hear Kevin Lachera. I'll give Lori an opportunity after that if she wants to, and then Simon can ask his question of Andy, and then we will move on to item number 2. So Kevin, go ahead.
Thanks, Eric. And thanks, everybody. I just had a quick question. I had seen a note on one of the slides that said that long-term flood resiliency upgrades are coming, and it said to Metro and Lorimer only. Can you just elaborate a little bit on what long-term flood resiliency upgrades are coming and why it was only at Metro and Lorimer and what the extent of it is?
It's this is Catherine from the contractor.
Catherine.
The elevators are have flood resiliency built into them. And Grand Street doesn't need it because it's not in a designated flood zone.
Okay. So
it's not, yeah.
Can you guys hear me?
Yes,
Yeah,
Chris.
Chris.
Yeah, flood resiliency is the new flood zone has been updated ever since Hurricane Sandy based on the elevation of the 100-year storm plus whatever factor of safety. I don't recall off the top of my head. That elevation, all staircases and elevator entrances are supposed to be flood resilient. Of our 8 stations, the Metropolitan elevator on Metro and Union is at that elevation. Lorimer is at a higher elevation, so is Grand. Also part of this project in the Far Rockaways at Beach 67, that one will also have flood resiliency added into the elevator component. So that's just a factor of the flood elevation and the new 100-year predicted flood elevation.
okay, yeah, the reason why I'm concerned about it is just because when you look at like the floodwater maps that New York City just put out, the extreme floodwater maps and moderate storm floodwater maps, that area at Metropolitan and Union gets, hit pretty bad. And so I just wondering what when we say resiliency, what that means exactly. you know, and how it measures up to other areas that are, you know, being armored up across the
I mean, to simplify it, the staircase, I mean, the elevator itself, the entire enclosure will sit on a higher concrete curb, as well as a gasketed door so that the water doesn't flow through into the elevator. So it's protected on the three sides, and then just reinforced at the door location. So the glass will be at a higher location, and the granite will sit higher as a means of preventing any surge water from going into the elevator and flooding its components and into the station.
Okay. Do you have any?
Could I just get your last name?
I'll spell it for you. It's ALEKSANDROWICZ. Alexandrovich.
And you're with Judlow?
Yes, I am.
Okay, thank you.
Eric, I have some more questions about this, but I don't want to take time now. Is it possible, Chris, for you to send Eric your email and we could correspond? I just have more questions about this, but I don't
Kevin,
want
it would be me. It would be me. So if you have more questions, you know, I'm the person to send the questions to. Are you with the press?
No, I'm not.
Okay,
No.
I'm sorry. Okay, no problem. Yeah, any questions the community board has, they can follow up with me.
Okay, Eric, you have Andy's contact info?
Yeah, I'll connect you.
Thank you. Thanks, guys.
Kevin. Okay, if there are any other comments or questions. Jerry, did you have anything?
Just about security for the site during non-working hours.
Chris, the question was about security. We have the area locked up.
Yeah, at the end of every shift is it's secured, locked, and the gates are checked to ensure that it's locked. I mean,
and Jerry, as far as outside is concerned, as I said, we're gonna take a look at the lighting. We're gonna try to get lighting up as quickly as possible.
Great, thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, seeing no other hands raised, I will thank Andy and his team, Joe, Chris, Catherine, everybody, and probably have you back at a future meeting. We'll keep an eye on this stuff. Andy, we're often in touch, so you know, folks can always reach out to the BKO1 email to Transportation Committee attention for any follow-up, and we'll be in touch.
Thanks very much.
Okay,
thanks everybody.
Simon, is this a question that you want to ask? You want to talk to me about offline, or?
No, I rather have it discuss this in this setting because I think it's important that the chair should be involved in this discussion. I'll just make a mention. Eric?
Yeah.
Okay, this has to do with the issue that MTA buses are overlaying at Lee Avenue corner Wallabout. And Andy, me and Andy and me have discussed this in length a couple of years already now. And Andy's very responsive to my complaints that I'm getting all the time. And this helps for the backup of Lee Avenue, which is basically unbearable. Basically, what it boils down to is that the bus drivers have a place where to lay over further up on Lee Avenue by Lynch, and they decide not to lay over there. And the reason is because they go to the bathroom, they buy some food to eat, and they just go out of the bus. So that's the situation. We've been talking about this for many years. And I just don't get it. I just don't understand. There must be some kind of higher up authority to tell the drivers to stop this practice. This is not a layover staging area, and this creates for the whole area a backup. I just want this to be, again, in the setting of the community board and the transportation committee. I don't know what to say. I keep on leaving messages for you. Yep.
Simon, in the past, and we had a site meeting out there in July. Remember that 110 degree day, right? We had a site meeting out there.
Fine.
We alternate layover areas were looked at. we were
We
discussing.
don't need alternate. No, not in alternate. There is a location that works great, and they're just not using it.
Okay.
I pass by every day. My office is next block. I pass by every day. The bosses have no reason to lay over there when the other location is empty. We don't need to another layovers. We have a location now on Lee Avenue by Lynch.
Okay.
They're just not using it.
Simon, with all due respect, I wasn't prepared to talk about this at this meeting. This was not on the agenda. What I would suggest, if it's okay with Chair Brusitis, is that we have a side conversation, or we have another side meeting out there to discuss this.
No, I'd
I can
ask the chair to put it on the next month's meeting. Yeah, I think that's maybe put it, because it has to be in a public session. Cause I'm not getting anywhere with this. So I would like, if chair is okay, we can put it on for next month's meeting.
I would like to have a conversation with the chair and with you offline to discuss this a little further. As I said, I wasn't prepared to talk about this in this committee meeting, but I would welcome a conversation with you guys to discuss a little further.
Sure. Let's.
Okay. All the best.
Simon, we'll start an email thread with the three of us.
Yeah, very good. Very good. Okay.
We'll see where we get to by the end of February.
Right. Okay, no problem. No problem. All the best. Bye.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Andy.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Okay. So now we will do the update on Meeker Avenue. And that will be Ms. Rhonda Messer and Mr. Craig Bearwald from NYC DOT. And basically, Rhonda, you and I have spoken. We just wanted to see where the work ended, if it ended on, and Craig, where the work ended at the end of the construction season, and how you guys are looking for starting back up in the spring. But I'll let you, if you have a presentation and stuff like that, we can run through it.
I actually don't have a presentation, Eric. But I figured this would be more of a dialogue and question. And then,
sure, that's fine.
Hi, everybody. My name is Craig Bearwald, as Eric mentioned, and the operations manager in the bike unit. Thanks for having me. So just to give everyone kind of a brief overview on where Meeker Avenue ended for the construction season. Not sure if all of you have been out there. We completed concrete at 4 intersections: McGinnis, North Henry, Monitor, and Kingsland. If you go to McGinnis or North Henry, this is like the overall crux of what the intersections will look like throughout. So it gives you a good overview of what the overall design is like. Signals work is complete at North Henry to a degree. We have a little bit more work to do once we're able to start markings back up. And we are going to keep working over the winter as much as we can on that, and moved to another intersection shortly. Paving was also complete on Meeker Avenue corridor and the westbound section from Graham to between Driggs and Graham. And we were actually able to pave 2 within the parking field, where we are putting down the new bike and ped path between Sutton Place and Graham Avenue. As I mentioned when we gave the presentation, we were going to move east to west, with the majority of the work starting underneath the BQE. And that's kind of where we ended up. There's green paint down there. We weren't able to put down the truffle ped space. But we're going to look, once the weather gets back up, we're going to have a full year to get back out there and start where we left off, including intersection concrete work, ongoing signal work too. We're not quite done with what, I'll call the phase 1, the eastern portion of this. And we need to finish up some of the markings, including the paint between Sutton and Graham as well. And then all the associated markings on top of the paint, on top of the green, on top of the truffle too. And I'll just, lastly speaking, the signal work, once we get further along in that, we do have to do the intersection markings. That's kind of like the last piece of this. And that's something we kind of reiterated throughout the presentations, is that the intersections were probably the most complicated components of this project, and they also require the most resources to construct. And that's not only concrete work, but it's also signal work. And then following, of course, we need to do the markings too, and these all kind of are tied together, follow one another, and are closely linked. So that's where everything kind of ended up, and that's where we're going. We usually start around mid-April. If weather is better before, we'll start before. And of course, I'll keep Rhonda, as I did throughout the implementation season, up to speed on where we're at and where we're going, and she can communicate that to you as well. But of course, I'm here to field any questions about what you're seeing out there and any question you might have about next year too.
Okay, so thanks, Craig. So it sounds like the majority of the heavy lifting did get accomplished before the end of the season, and you know, the signal work and that stuff will be ongoing. But you're fine to start the next section while there's
Yes.
cleanup happening on the east section. Phase
Yes,
one.
yes, and I do want to note too, like, we want to do that because of all the various components, right? We do want to keep things moving throughout the corridor to make sure we're doing work on it as well, because there is, yes, we want to keep moving throughout the corridor on it too. And we are, like I mentioned too, we'll have a full implementation season to do this work as well.
Right.
So I do want to note though, like, it is still, like, I don't want to give any kind of impression that, like, oh, like, it's a whole nother season, we're good to go here.
Right.
It's still a very long stretch. It's still a very resource intensive project. This is probably the most resource intensive project that I've ever worked on. So it's going to have to be an ongoing dialogue between me, Rhonda, and then you guys about where we're at, where we're going with all the various moving pieces. But yes, Eric, we are ready to keep moving on this.
Okay, thank you. Committee questions? I see 2 hands raised from the public. I don't see any committee hands.
Oh, Eric, I have a question. Is Bronwyn? Hi.
Go
Sorry, I
ahead,
didn't raise my hand.
Yep,
I had 2 questions. One is about a specific intersection and timing. Craig, hi, we met at the walkthrough last spring. I had asked at a previous meeting about if intersection pedestrian crossing time was going to be increased at the intersection at Humboldt and Meeker, particularly going north, right in front of the liquor store, like crossing across to the gas station there. And I think that you said that the timing was not going to be increased at that intersection. But I think the concrete there is done now. The answer was that the timing is not going to be increased, but the concrete bulb outs were going to shorten the crossing distance.
That's correct. Yep.
Okay. I just, I cross that intersection regularly and have heard other people talking in particular. I think that's, the most dangerous intersection I ever cross anywhere in New York City, probably, as I'm sure you know. But the timing there to get across is just impossible. And maybe you can say that's just not the intention to be for a pedestrian, an average pedestrian to be able to cross with one light signal timing. But when you're crossing northbound, you only have one light crossing. When you're crossing southbound, you have 2 light timings to cross because of the 3-way intersection there. But when you're crossing northbound, it's really not possible to make it across at even a fast pace with a single timing, a single light. So I just wanted to bring that up again as a point of concern, because I think it's so dangerous, and also just really unpleasant. And people are rushing, cars are making that left turn, which I think you're going to be changing in the signal adjustments, but the timing really needs to be increased, even if the left turn isn't happening concurrent with the pedestrian crossing northbound.
Yeah, that's probably the most complicated intersection
Yeah.
on a very complicated project. But I definitely hear you on that. Well, I think once this timing, like, yes, we aren't adjusting the ped crossing time, but we are going to clean up like a lot of the left turns across Meeker, which should help with crossing there too. And I'm sure you know too, we're looking at McGinnis.
I do know.
And I'll bring this up to the PM working on that too to see, because they'll probably most likely be looking at timing throughout the corridor and things like that too.
Yeah, I hear you, and I think that will definitely help if the left turn is not happening concurrent with this pedestrian crossing. But even if there's no cars turning left, you just can't make it across. So I don't know, and I know how I understand. I mean, I don't understand all the intricacies of the complexity, but I get it that it's very complex. So I just think the only way to do that is to give a little bit more time to the pedestrian crossing on that side. Anyway, I just wanted to raise that. And the other thing I wanted to ask about is, I had also asked this previously about the lighting, if there's new lighting being installed at the underside, eventually at the underside of the BQE, like in the over the bike lane.
We updated the lighting to be LED, I believe, last year. But we were gonna relook in it. Let me follow up with our.
So I'm sorry, this is Rhonda. I did ask this question internally after the walkthrough, and my understanding is in all the existing light, fixtures, it was made sure that everything was working at that time. In order to do a project where we're upgrading the light under the entire, for the entire length of the project, it's going to have to be done under a separate contract. So it's going to be a capital contract, and it's going to take some time. It has to be bid out, and my understanding is it will eventually happen, but I can't give you a time frame right now.
So it's not, so what you're saying is the lights haven't been replaced, they've been repaired if they weren't functioning, and that replacement of lights is not part of the scope of this work?
I think they were upgraded to LED, but I'm saying an upgrade to brighter lights will have to be a separate contract.
Or like new lighting, adding additional lighting. That's like another contract.
Okay.
Too. But we can keep reiterating this and stay on top of it.
Yeah, I know the hope is for future improvements, and I think that again, I don't think I haven't noticed the lighting to be improved under there. Although of course LED is better from an environmental perspective, but yeah, if there's an opportunity for additional lighting under there, that I think that would be a really good complement to these improvements in that space.
And thanks, Brahman. And that's the lighting. That's not you're not getting problems from the state for that, are you? Craig or Rhonda? That's
that's our light.
That's all you, right?
Yep.
That's city.
It would be lighting for our facility. So I haven't heard of there being any kind of pushback from the state.
Right. Okay. I know that's come up in the past on other things where like the state controlled the light, but I guess if that's the case, then great. Okay. Thanks, Brahman. Anything else?
Not right now, thanks.
Okay, thank you. Committee, anybody else? So quiet. Okay, we'll go to the public. I only see Kevin and Merrill with their hands raised. Anybody else from the public, please raise your hand. And Maria.
Elliot also.
And, oh, thank you. Okay, so I have 4. And because we ran long on the first item, I'm just going to kind of keep this to 2 minutes for public. So we'll do Kevin, Merrill, Elliot, and then Maria, if that's okay.
Do me last, Eric, then do me last, because if folks ask my questions, then I can.
Sure. Okay, thank you for that. Okay, so I'm just looking at Elliot first. So we'll do Elliot, Elliot, Maria, and then Meryl, just because that's the order that it's on my screen. Elliot, go ahead.
All right.
In
Thank
2
you.
minutes, go.
Okay. Thank you. So just want to say first, very glad that this project is happening. Love to see the progress as I walk in the neighborhood. I live very close to Meeker, and looking forward to being able to safely travel along it. I'm just wondering, what is DOT's timeline for completion of the project?
Very good question, Elliot. I figured that would come up tonight. We are going to start in spring and do as much as we can, keep moving east. As much as I would love to give like a hard timeline, given the scope of this project, it's very tough to pinpoint a specific date. But we are looking to open like portions of it next year too. So I think like we're in a pretty good place, and we didn't start until August, if you recall, last year. We're starting now in April. So we have a lot of work down, and it's kind of like doing like intermittent work in the first phase. So for the whole corridor, it's going to be like, there's no date I can specifically say to that, but we're looking to open pieces of it, or like the first phase maybe next year.
Okay, thank you. And I know there was also some questions on like connecting the K Bridge and Sutton. Were there any decisions about making that connection?
Yeah, that's going to happen as part of this. That's part of the first phase, because we do obviously need to get cyclists from the Kosciuszko Bridge to this path. That gets a little bit more challenging because we're working within the corridor itself, so we need the signal timing in place to do that. But that's, again, next spring we're going to start on this next year. So
okay. And so when you say, so it's on Meeker physically, so like is the biking aspect, like the bike lane, physically protected with like concrete, or is it going to be the plastic delineators, or just paint, or what?
Jersey barriers.
Okay, great. Okay, that's all. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Elliot. I think I had Maria next.
Hi.
Maria, and Maria, can I get your last name for the record, please?
Natalie.
Okay, thank you.
N-A-T-A-L-E.
Uh-huh.
So you started with the meters, which you haven't mentioned in this whole thing. And like the last project that was just discussed already, all the parking on that part of Lorimer, 2 sides of the street, is removed. The parking on Union, 2 sides of the street, is moved between Metropolitan and Meeker for the bus. They put signs up today or yesterday. And now you're going to be taking away all more parking and metering it. We've had petitions, and I looked at the surveys of what the DOT surveyed, and they didn't actually even look at the area under the BQE from in the survey that's put out from Metropolitan all the way to McGinnis, and what the garages and like what times people use the parking. They left all that out of the study, but now they're removing all the parking, and there isn't sufficient other parking at all. And now you're also taking away 4 streets for another, essential project that's for disabilities. That's, I understand that, but they didn't survey all of that area. And then on the recommendation of the survey from McGinnis to the end, which you already did take away the parking, it was recommended, what the whole recommendation from this survey was to encourage people to park under there with improved lighting and sanitation, which actually the sanitation hasn't improved at all under any of the areas. So is there any possibility that you could be considerate to the neighbors that are being disrupted and work out this meter parking issue that has 2,000 people signed a petition? We had no ability to have input. I have been on all the meetings, and we really got shut down with all of our concerns. And when I want to know when you are putting in the meters for the rest of the sections, and if it could be stopped, because it's really a burden for the neighborhood.
I mean, as far like we're gonna continue, like I said in spring, keep working like throughout the project. And that's the kind of the impetus to keep moving. So as far as stopping it, like I can't say like in my position here, and I know Rhonda's aware of the presentation or the petition.
We're aware of the petition, and at this point, you know, we are planning to move ahead with the meters as we finish the additional lots. I'm not sure what survey you were talking about. I'm
I
not.
could send it to you. I could email it. It's from the DOT. It's a survey of all the area under the BQE, and I have to look at what the date is. It's from like last year or the year before, maybe 2019. It's 2022, so maybe 2019. I have to look. I've sent it to Lincoln and to Emily. They asked to see it. They said that they have been against the meter part of this project as well. But you decided to go ahead with this meter.
We actually did shorten the hours.
2
for the
hours. I
meters.
mean,
Yes.
from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. That it still, and with cutting all the parking that you're cutting with that doesn't help the neighborhood. It really doesn't. And the amount of traffic backed up
Wait,
now.
I'm sorry. You're complaining that there were fewer spots because we built the bike lane and the ped lane. That's what you're saying?
There's fewer spots because they're metered now. They're not. That's
correct. They are metered.
Yeah, there's fewer spots. They're metered, and you took away parking spots. Yes, and now 2 streets and all the traffic that's backed up.
I'm sorry. The parking that was removed for the MTA project has nothing.
No, but it
to do
has
with
an
this
effect
project.
on the neighborhood and people looking for parking. And now there's metered parking, which it's not a commercial district. It's a residential district. It's a residential neighborhood. And you took away all the parking for the meters, put meters on the parking that people have used, given us less options. There's no private garages around. And now the streets are closed too. So to be circling around looking for parking, it's a nightmare for the residents that live on the streets with, idling cars.
Okay. Maria, thank you. I'm going to come back to this at the end of this item. And I think you did send that to the board office, Maria, that survey, but can I ask you to send it to the BK01 to the Transportation Committee's attention just one more time?
Yes, of
just
course. Yeah,
please,
no
and then
problem.
I'll include it in the record for this
Okay.
meeting.
Okay.
But I have looked. I know I've looked at it, but just to refresh my memory and just to have it for the record. Okay.
Yes.
So Maria, thank you. Okay, now everybody's hands are going up. We are going. I see. Okay, committee members with hands up. So I will recognize committee. We'll go. Sorry, public. Willis, and then Paul, and then we'll go back to the public.
Great. Thanks, Eric. Yeah, I mean, my question is about the crossing. If they're the countdown clocks, what is happening? Are we getting countdown clocks at every intersection on Meeker?
Yes. That was one thing I forgot to update, and I believe we added them at McGinnis, and maybe some other intersections. Let me follow up with our signals unit, and we should be adding them throughout the corridor. I will follow up and let Rhonda know too. That was a post presentation like bonus that we were doing too.
Okay.
They should have started that prior to They can do that prior to doing a lot of the major work. So I believe they were
Sure.
out there doing that when we started the work.
Right. Probably not weather dependent. I guess, yeah, if you could confirm with the board that it's all crossings, and what the timeline would be.
Yes, I'll follow up.
Okay,
Thanks,
I
Greg.
made a note of that, so we will follow up internally. That was a good question. Thank you, Willis.
Thank you, Willis. Paul?
Yeah, I just wanted to ask a follow-up to Elliot's question about the physical protection. Craig, you mentioned Jersey barriers. Is that just for the sections that are like on the street, or the parts that are under the BQE also will have Jersey barriers, or will they only have the plastic?
It's just for the street. It will just be on the street will be the Jersey barriers on the main corridor, and the parking field will still be the flexible delineators.
Okay. I mean, I'm sure there's reasons for that, but it's disappointing because obviously people will just still park all over the bike lane.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good point. Let me talk to my superiors about that as well. We are looking at additional locations for Jersey barriers. But it's a long stretch. That's a lot of barriers, a lot of resources, and it's tough to get equipment in and out of there too. So keep that in mind. And we do need to maintain like some kind of access, emergency access and things like that.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Paul. All right, I said Merrill would be next. And if you've spoken, please take your hand down. Thank you. Merrill, go ahead. And Merrill, your last name for the record, please.
Laborde.
Laborde, okay. I thought it was Merrill Laborde, just want to check.
Yep.
Okay, go ahead.
So I had 3 questions about the project. One, I'm just going to tell them to you all so you can answer. However, the first is, do you have a timeline for the portion from the K Bridge to basically to under the BQE at Morgan or just past Morgan? 2, what is being done about flood prevention and drain water? Because right now it's already, the sections that you have done have been flooding quite a bit when it rains. They're getting a lot of runoff from the highway. And 3, can you sort of explain how the signal timing has changed at North Henry?
So one, the section from K Bridge to underneath at Sutton is, within part of the phase 1. So we're going to start up in that section in spring. The flooding, I know drainage is an issue underneath there. When we were able to resurface, we were able to create like guides with asphalt from the downspouts to the catch basins. All of the downspout infrastructure belongs to the state. I have brought this up to them a number of times, and I will continue to do so. But thanks for reminding me. I know that's a concern. And the signal timing at North Henry has not changed yet. The infrastructure is mostly in place, but it's begged right now. We won't be able to flip it. We won't be able to change it until a majority of the signal infrastructure throughout the corridor is in place, because it's all timed together.
So the signal timing won't actually change until all of it changes?
Not necessarily all of it, but like a majority of it for like the first phase. You have to have like a sequence of corridor or a sequence of intersections in place in order to like turn them on, more or less.
And with the flooding, like parts that you've resurfaced are still flooding, especially around the intersections. I live on Kingsland and Meeker, and it floods really bad right there. It floods really bad at North Henry. So I'm just wondering, like, how you all are planning to resolve that.
I'll have to look into that. There could be catch basins that are like clogged, and that's like a DEP will clean them out. But I'll look into it. You said McGinnis and you said Kingsland and North Henry.
Right.
Yeah.
But I mean, it floods along the whole thing, but those two are really bad.
Yeah, and I've gone out when it rained to scope to check on this stuff, but it's good to know again.
Okay, thank you, Meryl. Okay, I see 1, 2, 3 hands raised, and then Kevin 4. Okay, so Meryl, thanks for that. Nice and concise. Okay, so we will do, going by my screen, we'll do Mr. Aiken, Miss Matichak, and then Miss or Mr. Trotta. Okay, Mr. Aiken, please go ahead.
Thanks so much. I just wanted to quickly say, in response to previous comments, that as a neighbor, I'm very in favor of more of the parking changing to metered and to getting rid of parking in favor of the bike and pedestrian. Just wanted that sort of in the record, and I'm happy to give the rest of my time. Thanks.
Thank you. Sorry. Supports parking. Approval to bikes. Sorry, taking notes and doing the meeting all at the same time. Ms. Matichak, we're recognized.
Hi, thank you. Good evening, Eric and the committee. I just wanted to pose this question to the DOT. It's kind of a general question. In late December, there was a Times article, Why New York City May Soon Be More Walkable for Blind People. A federal judge ordered New York City to install more than 9,000 accessible pedestrian signals at city crosswalks. Basically, it's helping the thousands of blind and visually impaired residents. So what I would just like to know, or just because this topic really doesn't get much, it's not highlighted much, you don't hear it in many conversations and meetings and stuff. For current and forthcoming DOT projects, we talk about signal timing and all that stuff. Is this being considered in projects? Because it says here that the city has to make a vast majority of New York City 13,000 intersections safe. So it's all going to be revised. So the question is, does the DOT take this into consideration now for current and forthcoming projects? Thank you.
Thank you. Rhonda or
I
Craig?
imagine you don't have any information about this, right?
I don't have a lot of specific information. I know when we do new projects, we work with our signal units to determine whether or not to incorporate. It's called APS. So I can't say for certain where, when, how, what triggers it, what intersections are being looked at specifically, but I know when we work on new projects, specifically when they require signal infrastructure or new concrete, or it's more of signal work, we do take this into consideration now.
Craig, what does APS stand for?
Oh my God, Eric, I think she just said it. Didn't she say it in the, Rhonda, do you know offhand? Something signal.
Audible, something.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah, that sounds right. That's audible. I think she did just say it though. Would Erica,
I think so
right?
too, yeah.
Erica, you there?
Yeah. Hold on. Okay, I'm looking at the article. Hold on. Judge.
I just looked it up. Audible pedestrian signal.
There you go. Thank you.
Of course, yeah. And apologies, I don't have more information. Like I'm still trying to learn all this too.
All right, that's thank you, Erica, for bringing that up. That's a good thing for us to all, keep an eye on the committee. Okay, and Craig, anything, or Rhonda, anything you get on that, you want to send it to me. I can announce it at a future meeting under old business. Right. So that leaves Chris Trotta. you are recognized. Chris Trotta. There he is. I see your mic's open. Cannot hear you though. Ah, there we go.
You can hear me?
Yes, I can hear you now. Please go ahead.
Okay. Hi, I just have a quick question for the DOT. Why did you guys lie about the sanitation department not telling you that they wouldn't be able to clean under the BQE unless the parking was metered? Because Emily Gallagher's office and Andrew from Emily Gallagher's office both confirmed that that actually was completely made up, and they spoke to the NYC sanitation department, and they would be very happy to clean it whether there was meters or not.
So we never said that.
Absolutely, you did in May. You absolutely did.
No,
in May. Yes.
I'm sorry. You misunderstood something that was said. What we said is that it's been under the purview of sanitation to clean under there, and well along there's alternate side street cleaning regulations posted. But in order now, DOT, our parking lot division, is going to take over the responsibility, has taken over the responsibility for cleaning, because now it's, we've built an entire facility and we're
Yeah.
going to be cleaning it on a daily basis. There was never, I was at all the meetings and we never said that sanitation needed.
They
us
absolutely
to
did, and it's
meter.
on YouTube. It's absolutely on YouTube, ma'am. You can look it up. I'm sure it'll get.
I'm not
deleted
going
after
to,
this.
but I was
Okay.
at the meetings and somebody misconstrued something.
It was an older
And we've been
man.
working with Emily Gallagher and Andrew Epstein on this, and they've never mentioned any allegation of anyone making a false statement like that.
Well, they did to me and a few other constituents. So
Okay,
I don't
well-
know, but I guess they're playing a little bit of both sides there.
No, I
have
don't
one more
think so. And
question.
that's not our position. So if somebody misunderstood something, I'm sorry.
Are the handicap spots also metered?
Well, the spots aren't metered individually. There's Muni meters. And so you get the receipt from the Muni meter and you put it in your car. If you have a DOT placard for handicap parking, you don't have to feed the meter.
A DOT placard. Okay, so a handicapped person from New Jersey or Long Island, they would not be able to park there if they were visiting, say, their relative.
You don't have to be a resident of New York City to get a placard, but that is how that works.
Or a state handicap pass. Someone who doesn't live in New York City.
It's the same rules for meters anywhere in New York City. If you have a DOT handicap placard, you don't have to feed the meter.
Okay, so
That's
that's
the way the rules are.
placard.
Mhm.
Yes, those are.
That's
yes.
right.
Understood. Okay. Okay, so I hope that you guys that voted for this are ashamed of yourselves, because this is a direct regressive tax on working families. You understand? This is not progressive. This is regressive. I just want you guys to understand that. Okay?
Thank you,
Well,
Ms.
I guess
Trotter.
it's a matter of perspective.
Okay, thank you, Ms. Trotta. Okay, so I have, if you've been recognized, I will not recognize you again. So we will go to Kevin Lachera. You're always welcome to submit comments to BKO1 at nyc.cv.gov to be part of the record. Kevin, you will be the last commenter on this item.
Thank you, Eric.
2 minutes. Go ahead.
I think I just want to start by thanking you all for voting for this and saying you should be proud of yourselves for creating something that is going to be transformative for this neighborhood for so many people that write
Oh my God.
Okay, that's
hello.
Okay. We will not interrupt other speakers.
Nobody
period.
interrupted you. But thank you. And thank you, Craig and Rhonda, for your hard work on this. Craig, I have a couple questions. One is just, did you guys come anywhere on the monitor crossing? figure out like whether or not there'd be signal lights or crossings at monitor?
We're looking into it, and I believe it's still being studied. So we should have an answer before we start work in spring.
Okay.
So,
And just regarding that with the timing, I know that there have been delays, but I know that we were 2 months delayed at the beginning. We were really starting in June to August. And I know that last year we had said kind of a target date of completing this in spring of this year. And so now I'm hearing that like phase 1 will be completed this year, and I just wanted to get a little bit of clarification on that.
yeah, so I mean, we're hoping to start in spring, and we're going to try to get as much done as possible, working our way west towards Metropolitan. That most likely means opening it up, or the bike and ped path, in phases, from the Kosciuszko Bridge further east. So like beyond, like, I don't know if I can give any more clarity than that. We don't wish it to be anything be delayed, and
Yeah.
understandably so.
I guess my concern is just that, obviously it's like a half completed bike lane. So if folks are coming off the K Bridge, then they're coming to, 6 intersections that are done and 4 intersections that are not done. You might have a situation similar to the Pulaski Bridge where folks come off at McGinnis and it's just confusing.
I don't want to, and that's a very good point, and that's a really good reason to say why we're not going to like say this section will be open and this section's closed. Like, obviously we want a safe connection in and out of the path. So like we have to make sure that is in place before it's like technically open per se. So, and yes.
Yeah, I just want to, I know I don't want to take up more than.
We won't leave anybody coming in and out of like McGinnis Boulevard. You don't have to doubt that.
I want to ask with the downspouts, if city DOT, is having some issues, because I know the jurisdictional tangle over there, right? That, is that something that we can ask our state reps to help resolve or push on? Because what Merrill is talking about with that flooding is a real concern. The standing water, and that's the highway runoff during Ida. The place was a deluge. And, when it rains, more than just one intersection, it's most of the spaces. And the asphalt work, though probably well-intentioned, the channels are not sufficient. Because it's all brake dust and all types of stuff gets caked up there. You need retention tanks, or, you need something with those pipes coming off the highway. And that's something that I think our state electeds would be willing to help push on, but we can ask them.
Certainly.
I think that's a great idea.
Okay. All right. Thank you. We'll follow up with them. The other thing, I had 2 other things just briefly. One was just regarding, I know that you said you'd look at this, Craig, the gas station at McGinnis and Meeker. I know how complicated the intersection is, and what Brahma was talking about with the crosswalk. You have like 4 or 5 different entrances to that gas station off of Meeker and McGinnis. And like the sidewalk and curb is in such a terrible condition. It's one of the most dangerous locations along the entire stretch. You got cars coming up on the sidewalk. There is the hydrant there is armored up with bollards, but nothing else is. I know that you'd said you'd take a look at that. I don't know if any more of that has been looked at, for potentially, closing one of the curb cuts, doing any one of a number of different things that might make it just a little bit more intuitive for folks that are, walking down that way or driving too. I mean, more often than not, it's not pedestrians that I see in dangerous conditions there. It's the cars that are in dangerous conditions. It's just a mess.
Yeah, we've tried to keep a lot of the scope and focus on the Meeker Avenue path.
I know that.
Anything that we added to it is just going to further delay the project. But I, again, will preface that we're looking at McGinnis.
Right. I just
corridor. So this is very good input. And I will let the PM know that this is an issue that we should continue to look at it too.
There's not many of these spots that we bring up lightly, a couple of the slip lanes and that gas station. And my concern with McGinnis, obviously, is McGinnis is a monster in and of itself that's going to be massive in scope. And, again, this is, out of all the spaces, as you say, it's one of the worst intersections, and this is one of the worst parts of it. So I want to flag it.
Sure.
and then the other, just the very last thing.
Can I, Kevin, I'm sorry. So regarding the curb cuts they have at the gas station,
Right.
I mean, the problem is that they're, the gas station's private property. And I was involved in a different project was similar in that there were like excessive curb cuts on their property.
Right.
And one of them was leading right into a spot where we wanted to install a crosswalk. And it turned into a legal battle with the gas station, and that has not been resolved. So I think that's a lot more complicated than you might think. We can't, we're not even the ones that give, oddly enough, Department of Buildings is the agency that gives permission for curb cuts. So I'm not saying that it's impossible, but I think it's a heavier lift than you would imagine.
No, I appreciate that. And, I just wanted to flag it because it is like, that is one of the worst spots along all of it. There's the slip lane at Morgan Meeker Driggs, there's a slip lane at Meeker, Kingsland, and Lombardy, and then there is that gas station. 3 of the worst spots along the entire route. So, just my last question, Craig, and this was something that, you mentioned, I know the plastic delineator is something we're talking about now. Underneath the highway. It's great to hear that concrete barricades, the Jersey barriers are going in between the K Bridge and Sutton. But the plastic delineators, I know that we had talked during the walkthrough about the idea of, maybe it was in one of these meetings, but that in the parking lane that the DOT would not be installing concrete Jersey barriers because of what you'd said, right? Like access and so on and so forth, but that concrete backstops, like what we see in parking lots, was certainly, a potential to separate the ped lanes, especially where you have the parallel parking, the concrete backstops to stop a car from backing up because they'd have to go over a concrete, like what's in a parking lot. When you're backing your car or pulling your car into a parking lot, you might go too far, you hit the concrete, it's maybe 6 inches off the ground, it's bolted to the ground. I wonder if that could be explored. I know that we had talked about that.
So we are installing those where we have the perpendicular parking.
Okay.
Those will be installed, but as far as replacing delineators with those, that's tough because it becomes like a tripping hazard. They're not visible. We need to like clear and maintain the space. But it's something that I can ask about. But I do want to preface though that we, as part of the project, we already have to install like hundreds of these. Adding them to this piece,
the delineators.
Like again, yeah, we're at not delineators, these wheel stops.
Right.
Like
well, I just wonder with the wheel stops, and I mean, even if it's something where, but that you have the plastic delineators on the inside and the wheel stops on the outside. Because I think the delineators I know are expensive in and of themselves, and where you don't have wheel stops to stop cars from hitting those delineators or knocking them down or vandalizing them or whatever it may be, you're going to lose them. You're going to lose them. Whether it's a week or a month or 6 months, they're going to be gone.
Well, I think though this is again very low volume. Yes, we on the road on a corridor, they are a maintenance thing to think about. But this again is they shouldn't have people driving over them on a consistent basis and like plowing them too.
I guess what my concern is that you have a.
But I hear you.
Yeah, there's a number of people who I think are probably going to be against this infrastructure being in there at all. That I think would have no qualms about running them over with their truck. So,
anything else, Kevin?
No, that's it. Thank you, Craig.
Okay,
thank you, Rhonda.
Thank you.
Of course.
Okay, so
I just had my hand up to ask you what email address to send that survey.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Thank you. It's bk01 at cb.nyc.gov.
Okay, thank you. And also, if people are saying that they're opposed to parking in their residence, they work for Street Blogs and Transportation Alternatives, Sasha Aiken, that should be disclosed. You work for Transportation Alternatives.
Where do I work? Where do I work, Maria?
No, stop. Stop.
You don't have a job.
Stop.
You live in grandma's house.
Okay.
I do. I love my grandma and grandpa so much.
Okay, that's it.
I wish I had a free fucking house, you fucking piece of shit. Go back to Long Island,
Guys,
you
stop
cunt.
it.
Bye.
This is
Jared,
embarrassing.
can you
We're
get
gonna end the
rid of
meeting.
her?
Come on.
Get rid of Trotta, and she's banned from.
Banned.
Get out of here.
Get
Okay.
out of here.
Get
Oh
out
my
of
God.
here.
Go fucking back to wherever the fuck you came from. You fucking transplant rich fucks.
Jerry,
this is a
can
fucking
you
Wesleyan
silence her,
college
please?
campus.
Get
This
rid
is
of
a fucking
her.
city. People have fucking
She
work to
doesn't
do.
know how to
Cunts.
behave in a public meeting. Thank you. Well, I was about to do something that might have made her appreciate the committee, and but sorry for that, Kevin and everybody, because that's not how we behave at public meetings. I'm going to make a motion to redraft the letter opposing metered parking that the committee and the board have both voted on in the past. Now that we have a new administration and mayor and city council representatives, I would also like to expand the letter to include the Commissioner of Finance, as well as the Director of the Office of Management and Budget. And what I will say to Maria, since you are, I believe, part of the anti-meter coalition, I see all the letters that come in to the borough commissioner. But I want to make and the reason I want to include the finance commissioner as well as the director of OMB is that although New York City DOT is tasked with installing these meters, these decisions to put in meters come from the Department of Finance and the Office of Management and Budget. And so by including them, the board will be on the record as opposing the meters to the agencies within City Hall that are responsible for these initiatives. And so the motion again is to redraft the letter to the new elected officials opposing metered parking under the BQE. With the addition of the Office of Management and Budget Director, as well as the Commissioner of the Department of Finance.
I second it.
Thank you, William. William seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Opposed.
Opposed, Ryan?
Yep.
Okay.
And Paul.
And Paul, okay. Abstentions? Great. Okay, motion carries. Thank you. Thank you very much for that item. Thank you, Craig and Rhonda, for attending and for the update. And we probably won't torture you again until June on this item. But we appreciate all the hard work you guys are doing on this issue. I know it's a lot of work and it's been coming down for a long time. So thanks again.
Thank you, Craig, for providing all that information. That was great.
Of course. Have a good night, everybody.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you for the countdown clocks.
Yes. Okay, last, just want to do an update on New York City. I'm sorry. DOT will update us on the Wythe Avenue, Williamsburg Street, West Penn Street bike lane safety improvements. I believe Mr. Hayes Lord is on the call. I don't think Sean Missius is on the call, but
No, it's Hayes, and he's here.
All right, Mr.
I'm
Lord,
here.
welcome to the committee.
Thank you very much.
And let's hear about Jersey barriers.
Okay, just like with Craig, I don't have a presentation to give since I thought
That's
it was
fine.
be a dialogue, but so as an update, we started the installation of the 2-block upgrade between Williamsburg Street West and Penn Street back in late fall. Our most recent treatments that we installed were the Jersey barriers and delineators in mid-December. We still have some green paint and some symbols to install. So we'll be doing that in the spring once our season starts again, based on some responses that we received from the community and what we've noticed. We've been placing barrels in front of the Jersey barriers to keep vehicles from striking the barriers. In the near future, we'll be replacing whatever remains of the delineators with quick curb in front of that, again, to thwart any additional careless driving that's been occurring in that intersection. So that's essentially the update.
Okay. The reason I put this on the agenda is a lot of you probably follow transportation news in the district. There were a couple trucks that decided they try to drive up on it, which says more about how people disrespect the roads than anything else. But I'm happy to see them there. I am still seeing buses parked under the PQE. However, on my almost daily journeys down Williamsburg Street west. But this is definitely an improvement. What I'm sorry, Mr. Lord, what was the timeline for the final quick curb?
Well, actually, because it's not weather sensitive, we could probably install it, within the next 30 days.
Okay, is that on a schedule right now?
No, because we just had to update our drawing, and so we're still going through that process.
Okay, so 30 days unlikely, 60 realistic?
I'm confident 30 days, but if you want to give us...
No. 30 is better. Just, the reality of the bureaucracy. 30 days to install. And then once the quick curb is installed, it's done, right?
Again, we have just some green paint that's going in at the beginning and the end of each of those blocks, and then some bike symbols. Then it's done.
Got it. Any questions from the committee?
Simon.
Go ahead, Simon.
I'm not chair. I think it's your comment before. I don't think it's 100% right, because the trucks, those cars that ended up on the divider, it was simple. It wasn't fun because they really the way how it was put in. They just didn't see the divider. That's why they're installing these new safety things. But the problem is what is happening is the traffic coming off the BQE making the left turn. If it's a wide truck, they can't make this turn because they have to make it like a three-way turn. They took away much space or more than the regular size for the bike lane, and they can't make the turn. So that's also helping to this confusion that the trucks end up on top of the divider. And I think with this new safety, which is very good, but it's going to become even worse. I don't think much. It's very important the divider, but somehow they took much space because, as we know, they want the sweeper to be able to go into the bike lane, be able to clean it. But it's much bigger than a regular bike lane, and that's why the street became much narrower. And Eric will be mentioning this a lot, a couple of meetings about this issue. So I don't think it has to do with irresponsible driving from the trucks. It has to do with the way how it was set up, that wasn't intended this street to become so narrow. Therefore, trucks coming off the highway making the left have a major problem making this left turn.
Okay, I see you, Ryan. I got you. Hang on. Hayes, thank you, Simon. Hayes, there were turn radius studies done before the concrete went in, no?
Yes, I mean, one of the issues that is going on is that obviously drivers are unfamiliar, especially tractor trailers are unfamiliar with the new design, and so they were used to taking wide swings because there was nothing impeding that, and that's why a lot of motorists, which is also one of the reasons why there are a number of vehicles that mount the Jersey barriers, is because the lane assignment markings coming off of the BQE at Williamsburg Street West are missing. And so vehicles are doing a double left turn, and those people who are doing it technically illegally are running into the problem where prior to doing that, they didn't have a Jersey barrier to have to worry about. And now because they're unfamiliar, they're doing that, not only that illegal maneuver, but then they're striking the Jersey barrier and mounting it.
Wait, say that again. So there's missing signage?
No, there's markings are missing.
They're faded. They're faded.
Okay. So paint treatments.
Yes.
Treatments. Okay.
So we've already asked that group to refurbish those markings. Normally they wouldn't commit to doing that until the beginning of the marking season. However, that they are looking for a window where the temperature would allow them to do it sooner. I mean, this should help, certainly.
Got it. Okay. I'm sorry, I cut you off, Hayes. Go ahead.
No, I think that's, yeah, I think
Okay.
Rhonda included it nicely.
Got it. Okay. So, it's just and so just tell me again the illegal turn.
Well, it's so coming off of Williamsburg West onto to Wythe, it should be the what is it? The northern lane would be a through and a left.
Right.
While the south, and I could be wrong, so apologize for what side of the street, but then that south side should be also a through, but a right. But right now, that the south, actually it's the north side, I think. They're taking the turn where they should be going straight and right, or in the next lane over, straight and left. But they're now going basically
turning from the wrong lane. Turning from the wrong lane.
And there is no receiving lane to accept that other.
Got it.
That
Right,
position.
there's no left turn from the center lane.
Right.
There shouldn't be.
Right.
And there is. I mean, I have to say we could use a little bit more enforcement over there. I don't know if I don't see any PD on the call.
Sing my song,
I was
Rhonda.
there yesterday and there was a delivery truck parked right in the bike lane, between the Jersey barriers and the curb, right on top of the bike lane. And when I went over and took his picture, he just averted his face from me. But so yeah, I mean, we could design it, but we need some enforcement to help.
Yes, agreed. We've been after them. We'll keep after them. Okay, thank you. So I saw Ryan with her hand up. And any other committee, just throw a hand up in the little yellow hand. Go ahead, Ryan.
Well, I just felt like as a biker who goes through that intersection all the time, I wanted to say thanks because it's been horribly dangerous and now it's much safer. But I just wanted to counter what Simon is saying. The bike lane is not extra large. There's now 2 lanes of traffic that turn onto the BQE. There's a turn only and a go straight or turn. So like the traffic has an extra lane under there. But also, if trucks are going the speed limit of 25 miles per hour, they can see the stuff clearly and they can make the turn. It's like if someone is speeding, there's going to be problems. And I still think that we should bring back up fixing the illegal turns. Like we paused on that and DOT withdrew that whole project. But the fact that we allow those illegal turns to happen is unsafe. for the car drivers, for the pedestrians, for everyone. It's like people are driving fast and trying to make that turn, and we really should address it because it backs up onto the BQE, and like we sort of avoided the hard conversation and the hard thing of like that whole intersection needs traffic calming. And I think that we should, when we only half fix things, we get sort of broken results. I also think that we should write a letter to NYPD asking them to enforce keeping that lane clear. It's a constant problem, and it's super illegal.
Thank you, Ryan. Do you want to make a motion?
To make a motion that we write a letter to the NYPD 90 precinct asking them to enforce illegal parking in the bike lane in that Jersey barriered section.
Strongly second.
Hang on.
And
Wait. Thanks, William. I wanted to just get the language right. Letter to 90th precinct to enforce
illegal parking and standing, because it's both. People leave their car, but they also hang out
illegal
in their car.
parking and standing on Wythe Avenue under BQE overpass.
And even in that next section in front of the school, that's where I saw the truck.
Yeah.
So what's that so between
Williamsburg Street
east to Penn, right?
Yes.
Yes, Penn.
Thank you, Ron. That's what I was going to talk about, the school. Thank you.
Got it. Okay, cool. Okay, and the biggest seconds. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstentions? Carries. Okay, great. Okay. Thank you. And Rhonda and Hayes, you might be involved in this. So we kind of went back to the drawing board on what Ryan just mentioned, the Wythe Avenue exit plan. Is there any buzz about work on that?
I don't think Hayes has any information.
Okay,
about
I thought he might if he was involved in that section. But Rhonda, do you know?
Yeah, no, I'm sorry. I wasn't.
I don't mean to put you on the spot. It just came up, so I thought.
I wasn't prepared really with any update. I don't know where that is right now. I mean, I think we were asked to look at the possibility of widening the exit ramp.
Yeah.
The street that it exits onto.
Right.
And,
which is a whole state
and
expensive land moving stuff.
Yeah, I mean we talked to the state about it, and they didn't. I wouldn't say that they opposed the possibility of it, but they certainly had no intention of offering any funding to allow it to happen. And subsequent to that, we did another onsite to just look at the infrastructure that would be involved, and it would be tremendously costly. I mean, there's a light pole there, and there's a catch basin there, and not to mention, the trees that are there, which are an issue. I think that it's clearly cost prohibitive to even think that would ever happen. And even if it could happen, it would take years and years and years, but I don't see that being funded.
Okay. Well, I know you're not prepared for this, so I just asked because we hadn't talked about it in a while, and Ryan brought it up. But maybe we'll talk offline, see if there's if it warrants an agenda item in the future. Okay.
Absolutely.
Thank you. Anything else on this item? Hayes, welcome. Thanks for sticking it out.
Thank you. Always a pleasure to present before the board.
Okay.
Thank you, Hayes, for joining me and giving all that great information.
Thank you, Rhonda. Good night, everybody.
Good night. Old business?
Bring something up for old business, Eric.
Paul, go ahead.
I mean, I think you said it was old business. Maybe it's new business. I wanted to propose that we write a letter to the DOT requesting that the Grand Street bike lane be included in the DOT's pledge to replace, what was it, 50% of the unprotected bike lanes with legit protection within the first 100 days of the new commissioner's administration.
Can you restate that motion, Paul?
The
You're making
motion,
a motion,
yes? Yes, I'm making a motion that we write a letter.
Okay. Letter to NYC DOT requesting Grand Street bike lane, as far as I got.
That the bike lane on Grand Street be reinforced with physical protection.
Additional protection
as part of the with additional
protective measures.
Yeah, but not just like delineators, but like things that really keep cars out. Like, hard infrastructure.
Okay, so letter to DOT request Grand Street bike lane. Oh, sorry, wait. Grand Street bike lane be included
as part of the new commissioner's pledge to replace 50% of unprotected bike lanes with protection within his first 100 days of
existing bike lanes with additional protection. But I'm going to read this back to you. Hold on.
Physically protected,
Physically, right.
not additional protection.
Physical. Thank you.
This is the boat I wanted to take part of. To really protect our Grand Street
bike. Okay, let me read this back so we're clear. Letter to NYC DOT requesting that the Grand Street bike lane be included as part of the Commissioner's pledge to replace existing bike lanes with physically protected infrastructure. Yes?
May I just
yes, please.
Discussion. I think yes, we could vote on this, but I think it's just more than that, because from what we know in the past, they said that they cannot physically do what we want without some sort of redesign. So I think we need to request for them to come back so that we could have a real true community envisioning of Grand Street bike lane.
Okay.
It could be separate from what this is, but I'm just throwing it out there because just putting that really means that Grand Street needs to be fully redesigned.
Why can't they install the physical barriers? What's preventing them?
Sanitation was one reason, and then we had the whole redesign because of the L train shutdown, and they did that redesign, and it was a mess, and it's worse than it was. And
currently, right now, it's due to sanitation.
There's so many issues, Bronwyn. I mean, we had so many meetings on it.
But if we vote on this now, doesn't that just get attention to the issue and then invite the conversation for the redesign?
Well, the thing is that not necessarily, because it does need a redesign. And now writing this letter does not mean that Rodriguez is going to like automatically throw down concrete on Grand Street to protect the bike lane and prevent people from parking in it. But because we've invested so much time as a board, and the Grand Street bid and so many other players in trying to get this right, Karen's point is pretty important. Well, how about this?
I mean, it can't hurt to write the letter, and then if there's something else.
I have an idea. Okay, so letter to New York City DOT requesting a community-based redesign. Sorry, hold on. Request a community-based redesign of Grand Street.
Eric, I'm sorry. I have a point of information. I don't know if I can offer or you can call me. I'm sorry. I would do it in the chat, but it's about this that it's important.
Hang on. DOT to request a community-based redesign of Grand Street. Kevin, go ahead and I'll let me think about this.
Thank you. I had my hand up for this reason. It's great to hear that Paul brought it up. North Brooklyn TA has a letter right now signed by District Leader Emil Bazil, District Leader Christina Aplatarski, District Leader Sammy Nimir Olivares, Councilmember Gutierrez, State Senator Julia Salazar, and Borough President Reynoso, asking for concrete protections on Grand as part of what Adonis Rodriguez has said, which is that in his first 100 days, he's going to replace plastic delineators across the city with concrete protections. So, we're in discussion with Councilmember Ressler, Assemblymember Davila, and Assemblymember Gallagher about it. We'll be sending it out very soon. I wanted to mention it here because we have had pretty enthusiastic support from all the electeds on this because Grand Street is such a mess. And so I would encourage the board to draft this letter, to talk, because there's going to be a conversation soon about this, and I think it's important to have the CB involved in it and supporting it. But Grand Street's a disaster. It's not working for anybody. So
right. So the problem is though is that if he goes in. Yeah, we're almost out of time here.
Eric, can I?
If I could just,
Karen, go ahead.
If I could just say, you are on the right track, but just expressing, a redesign that includes fully protected bike lanes on Grand Street, something to that effect. I don't know. Kevin, maybe
hang
you
on.
could help.
Okay, hang on, Karen. I got it.
I need to get this out.
Okay, go ahead. Sorry.
You have to understand, this needs to be a community-based design. Right. I am telling you right now that the Grand Street bid also needs to be included in this conversation.
Yes.
Okay, for us to sit here and say, yeah, we want concrete, but yes, we do. We want it protected, but we need to make sure that it's done correctly, because it was not done correctly in the first place, and it was just thrown at us. Right. Nobody wants it. TA doesn't want it. The bikers don't want it. The businesses don't want it. The drivers don't want it. So we need to do it correctly. That's all I'm going to say. Okay, so if we're going to do a letter, it needs to be correct. And I will shut up now.
No, I didn't mean to cut you off, Karen. I thought I had it. what you said, and then, but that's important. But Karen, stay with me for a minute. Letter to New York City DOT requests a community-based redesign of Grant Street to include. You just said it, and I had it. Now I don't remember. To include.
I think she said like a physically protected
Bike
redesign.
lane. Right.
A physically. Okay, got it. Physically
Protected redesign.
protected bike lane as part of Commissioner Rodriguez's pledge to replace existing bike lanes with physically protected infrastructure. Read it again.
Yep.
Okay. Okay, so letter to NYC DOT Commissioner Rodriguez to request a community-based redesign of Grand Street to include a physically protected bike lane as part of the Commissioner's pledge to replace existing bike lanes with physically protected infrastructure.
I mean, it's a bit run-on-y, but I think
yeah, it is. It is a little, but I'll clean it up. But the spirit is there.
Yeah.
Karen, thoughts?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Okay. Who wants the second?
I'll second.
Bronwyn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carries. Thanks, Paul.
Thank you.
Any other old business?
Eric,
We have 9 minutes. Go ahead.
I don't know if this is old, but on the topic, can we draft a similar letter asking for physically protected bike lane under Meeker? Because it's just silly, right, to put in those plastic barricades.
I think I mean, the plan is happening, and to get, we just heard, Craig say what's involved in, installing, Jersey barriers under the BQE and everything else. I think, we could write a letter as the spirit of the board, but I don't know. There's so much with this project that needs to play out that I don't know. Anybody else have thoughts?
I don't think it hurts to start the discussion now. I think that so oftentimes the cyclists and pedestrians are forced to take a lesser plan because of expediency or budget. And I don't think it's wrong for us to push for a higher thing, even if we know like that they may have some reasons. But again, I think that I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with pushing for the sky per se.
I think we
don't
need more
even
time
think-
to do this. Not in 7 minutes. So
Yeah, there's a lot of work that needs to go in. Okay, so there's a lot happening with this project. I think we can table this to a larger discussion with
Can I say though, we did a quick motion on the meters. To me, it felt like we had a whole big meeting where there was lots of discussion about, like, we had almost every single elected official said they wanted to see under Meeker have no parking at all, like wanted it to be all bike and pedestrian. And we wrote a letter tonight, and we only spoke about the metered parking, and we didn't speak about any of the other upgrades in an official letter. So I kind of am like, if we're going to send an official letter that only mentions the parking change that people want, free parking, that we should also mention all the other things that the cyclists, because they've told us a million times there's going to be metered parking there, and we're still pushing. So I think that if they say we can't have barricades, we still should push when there's a whole people. I don't know. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, and the only reason I made that motion is because of the 1,000+ letters that have come in, and because there's a new administration. So just to, just to keep it, just so the new administration and city council is aware of the issue. I mean, if you want to make a motion and there's a second, we'll vote it up and down. But I think William's
Okay, I'll
right
make
that-
a motion. I'll make a motion to draft a letter from the community board to DOT requesting the implementation of physically protected bike lane under Meeker.
Amendment that we add all of the things, the better stormwater management, the timing, the light timing, like sort of all of the I think it was timing, the monitor crossing, and the brain fatigue. We wrote a letter that only mentioned parking.
Yes,
that
it's
night,
a letter we've
but
already
that
written,
night,
Ryan.
that night we
Letter-
had huge
It's a letter we've
discussions
already
about.
written. Okay, wait a minute. So now we're including all this other. Well, Bronwyn, do you accept a friendly amendment?
I do.
Okay, it's just we have 4 minutes. Letter to include physically protected bike lane.
We have more than 4 minutes. At the executive committee, they said committee meetings can run over till 10 p.m. if you're still doing business. But we don't have to shut off right at 9. That was totally talked about in the executive committee meeting.
I have a question.
Go ahead, Karen.
With Make Meeker Move, wasn't that part of what we supported to have protected bike lanes under the BQE?
I believe so, yes. I think that technically it was supposed to be all. I'm not even on.
So my point is, if we've been consistent in supporting,
Sure.
supporting that, we should definitely write that.
Okay, all right. So, I mean, the monitor stuff is new. Whatever. Okay. Letter to include physically protected bike lane. Right. Letter to. Sorry. Letters in with CGT. To include. Okay, give me bullets.
Yeah. Signal timing, improve signal timing.
Wait. Okay, wait. All right, start again. Who was that? Willis?
That was Willis.
Okay,
Improve signal timing for pedestrian crossings. Stormwater management, just as a blanket thing. I mean, that was also part of our original ask.
Right.
To me, those are the main 3. I don't know what else we.
Lighting. The redesign. The lighting.
Lighting. And protected bike lane. Okay.
Put the lighting in there?
What?
Did you put better lighting?
Yes.
Okay.
Letter to New York City.
And the addition of the crosswalk at Monitor. Can we add that?
Regulated monitor. Letter to,
I would, yeah, I would also, sorry, I would also include what Erica had mentioned about the what is it, the audible signals. I remember during the walkthrough, DOT did mention anytime that there was signal, when I requested for the countdown clocks, they said that they wouldn't put in countdown clocks because now there's new compliance wherever there was a signal change. I wanted to mention that earlier, but I didn't want to hold up the meeting. So yes, I would also include that if we're going to do the bullet points, because especially for McGinnis and Meeker, that should be installed.
Okay. Okay. So letter to New York City. Letter to New York City DOT to include in the Meeker Avenue improvements, improved signal timing, stormwater management, improved lighting, protected bike lane, regulate signal regulation at monitor, and crosswalks at monitor, and audible signals. Is there a second?
Aye.
I second it.
William, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Carries. Okay, good. Thanks, Bronwyn. Sorry, that was just.
Thank you. That was my first motion.
No, you're. All right. Is it? I don't think so.
I think so. I don't know. Maybe
Okay.
not.
All right. Any more old business? Quickly.
The guy behind you. Look. I don't know if this is old business.
Committee
I think.
only.
Oh.
Committee only. You're on the committee, Ryan. Go ahead.
I feel like we need to acknowledge that we had another sort of break into quorum, and a community member was sort of harassed during a meeting, and that we really need to set in controls to mute people faster. And like, if that means having a co-chair, having the mute button, like that I don't know, that went on for way far too long. It was really ugly, and it's like part of, I don't know, I think that we need to mention it officially to the executive committee that it happened again, and that we need to make sure that like we have the ability to mute people way faster.
Okay. Noted. Any more old business? New business?
Eric, I have something just real quick.
Go ahead, Will.
I don't really need to get into it, but Karen and I, through my Newtown Free Cat and Karen through Evergreen, the ongoing issues with Kingsland Avenue are still persistent. It's just a complete mess with the lack
flooding?
of Kingsland Avenue between Greenpoint Avenue and North Henry Street behind the wastewater treatment plant. I just feel like, Karen, we can talk about it, but I feel like we should maybe at the next meeting have it on
the agenda.
Have it
okay.
to discuss. All the elected, or well, not Wrestler's office yet, but all the electeds are aware of it, and there's like a real need for redesign, new actual parking regulations and enforcement. There's a guy who has like literally 20 trucks, and he's just working on them on the street, and yeah.
Okay. So water treatment, for better. Well, we'll talk. I got it.
Kingsland Avenue redesign.
That's fine. We'll
Yeah.
do a thread, and I'll make it a proper agenda point. But thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Eric.
Old
That
business.
would
Anything
be
else?
fantastic. Thank you.
Can I bring up one other piece of old business, Eric?
Sure.
That we, a couple of meetings ago, talked about bringing in Assembly member or former council member Stephen Levin and Lincoln Wrestler to talk about the restrictions by DOT with the federal guidelines regarding warrants and pedestrian crosswalk requests.
Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to learn what some of the information about why, if we are in fact need to be under that jurisdiction, and why, or if there's anything we can do to advocate for a change. Can we schedule that perhaps at the next meeting, or invite one of them to come, or both?
Not the next one, but a future meeting.
Okay.
Thank you. It's my pet peeve. Okay, old business. Anything else? New business? Committee only. New business committee? Okay, motion to adjourn.
Seconded.
Okay, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, guys. Thank you.